Tēnā koutou katoa, ka tū tēnei mihi atu ana kia koutou katoa, kua tai mai I tēnei wā. E tika ana kia mihi atu ki te tangata whenua o tēnei o tō tātou nei rohe, kia ngai toa ahuriri, huri noa kia ngai tahu hoki no reira kia koutou katoa, ko tēnei mihi atu. He uri tēnei o te mauka tapu o Aoraki, no reira ko Aoraki te mauka ko ngā waihoka I rere ana, ko ngā waitapu, ko ngai tahu. Te iwi no Arowhenua ahau. Ko tēnei au e tuana, mātou ko oku hoa mahi, no reira ki te tokorua, tēnā korua, ko tēnei au, nau anō.
Kia ora, ko Chris North, toko ingoa.
Kia ora, ko Nick Maitland, toko ingoa.
And this project is started through the Alpine Club discovering they were spending more money flying poo out of the mountains than they were receiving in hut fees. And it's been a bit of a journey over the last few years, but what we're going to talk about today is what should mountaineers know about the perspectives of mana whenua, or people on whose indigenous or sacred mountains they are climbing.
Well, that's over to me.
Sorry.
Kia ora, and to help give some substance and some meaning and some understanding to what is to follow, we want to outline this framework that's been used for this research rather quickly, but it will help when we see the interview data and some quotes that are pulled forward coming shortly. I wanted to give particular focus onto tapu and utu here. Tapu, as we would most commonly understand it, we think of words like sacred, but actually using Ataria's framework, it's more than that. It's things like being prohibited, to be protected, to be set apart, to be special. I think that's really important to understand when we consider the spaces in this study. Also, if we outline briefly the Māori concept of utu, which many of us at the university will be familiar with, we define as reciprocity. But Ataria talks about it in the case of this in regards to redressing the balance, to maintain and return to balance, which is also an important consideration in regards to these quotes that we will investigate coming forward.
So the framework we used in navigating this research was a kaupapa Māori. So essentially the importance of this type of research methodology is that we're working for Māori, with Māori and alongside Māori. For decades, Māori have often been the ones who have been researched about. So really important that we're co-constructing and working alongside, involving Māori. And so in this case, we looked at the Arowhenua whānau. So te Rūnanga o Arowhenua is one of the 18 Papatipu Rūnanga, one of the 18 traditional councils as identified by Ngai Tahu. Arowhenua is situated just a minute or two south of Timoka, for those who are familiar with South Canterbury. And this research was about enhancing, or we would say to whakamana, these people as well as the mountain, as well as Aoraki himself. So I'm indicated earlier, I'm from Arowhenua. My whānau still live down in Timoka. Our whānau urupa, my grandparents and my elders are buried in Timoka, at Arowhenua. And so it's a place that's home for me, and it's a place that I'm highly involved with. So certainly when we think about researching with community, the importance of connection and kanohi kitea, being that seen face, is so incredibly important. We had the opportunity to talk to 10 whānau members who affiliated through a genealogy to Arowhenua. There were a range of ages, great gender mix, and these 10 different individuals had varying roles and engagement with Arowhenua in terms of commitment and involvement. We also had a young Arowhenua researcher involved in the project, and he was key to interviewing and chatting with those 10 individuals. So feel incredibly privileged that we had a community, or had my whānau from home wanting to contribute to this important research.
So just harking back to the challenge, the wero from the keynote speakers, translation. So one of the things that we did when we completed the thematic analysis was we had Francine Spencer, an artist from Arowhenua, design this graphic to help, I guess, articulate what we'd found. And what you can see at the top is Aoraki with korowai, the cloak, and mountaineers and climbers on Aoraki. Underneath you can see the whāriki, the weaving that binds Arowhenua to Aoraki. Just bring back the words there, tapu, and you can see utu there, and para off to the right is the word for waste.
And just over the next handful of slides, we're just going to highlight the themes that were drawn from those narratives, from those discussions, those kōrero. And so one of the key themes that became apparent was that whānau from Arowhenua didn't appreciate and didn't really understand the motivations why you would want to climb a mountain. May be somewhat indicative of maybe the whānau that we chatted to, but I'll let you read through these quotes. So essentially it was like, why would you want to climb? I'm certainly not going to say some of the words. Oh my God. I can do it in private, but not in public. So it was really that understanding, why would mountaineers even want to climb? Why would people even want to climb this mountain? And whilst we say the mountain, for us as Arowhenua, whangaitahu, our ancestor, so our whakapapa, our genealogy, our stories are all intertwined with our ancestor. And when I introduced myself, I talked about Aoraki being the founding ancestor. So really important that we don't lose sight of that. Arowhenua particularly, because we are the most centrally located to Arowhenua, and as tangata whenua, we hold mana over the resources and the land of that particular area. So I neglected to mention that earlier. Whilst we might have thought, you may have thought, why Arowhenua? That's why.
And the images that you see here are all taken as part of this research project, and that is Aoraki in the background. So I'm also not going to let you talk through, read some of these. The top quote is, we found a great diversity. And one of the things that Tony's work in Mātauranga Māori and, kaupapa Māori research and thematic analysis is not to universalise. People don't speak with the same voice. So the top quote there was from somebody who knew somebody who climbed, had a relationship kind of into that world, and had empathy with mountaineers. The bottom quote, not so much. You can see there, they should just go back to where they came from and don't be so disgusting. So some of the people that talked as part of these chats talked about Everest and the waste that they saw there and the dead bodies and climbers climbing over dead bodies, and they just had the sense of climbers as disgusting and arrogant.
And so, moving on. So when we think about the idea of para human waste on Aoraki, it's important that we remember that for us, again, Aoraki is our ancestor. He's part of our whakapapa, and we have stories that are handed down. We have pūrākau handed down from generation to generation, talking about our links into how our land was formed. So when we think about, as you read this quote, we liken it to, would you toilet in a cemetery or on a grave in a cemetery that's just down the corner and round the road? And essentially, for our whānau Arowhenua, that's the same thinking. Would you do that? And I don't know most of you, but I'm pretty confident that you wouldn't. So there was that understanding as well.
And this ties into what Nick was talking to, that framework, tapu. If this idea of tapu, the restriction, is not being respected, if there is desecration, then there could well be not the positive form of utu, which is you gave me a nice gift, I give you a nice gift, but the kind of more revenge-orientated utu. And we see here a comment that if mountaineers do die on Aoraki, it's a dangerous, serious mountain. And a sense that if somebody dies up there, maybe that was because they'd caused offence of some form. So, one of the parts of this research that came through strongly was a sense of opportunities for solutions. While there was critique of mountaineers, and there were some people who were just dead set against mountaineers going there at all to Aoraki or his brothers, there was a strong sense that education was one of the best solutions that we could find. So how do we educate mountaineers about what it means to be on this land? And mana whenua or te Rūnanga or Arowhenua's values and what they see as important. So what does this mean for mountaineers? Well, we see three things. Firstly, it's being sensitive when you're going onto Indigenous lands and mountains. And as part of that, there is the idea should occur to people that this is somebody's sensitive lands. You know, that's the first awareness even. Secondly, making sure to educate yourself to the best of your ability. And that may be doing research, finding resources, talking to others. And we see this as an opportunity to build bridges. Now, we don't think that every often we talk about these ideas of Māori sitting on the marae waiting for a research to get in touch so they can finally do something, as just this with a total irony, right? These are not, and the same with mountaineers. If a mountaineer was to turn up and try to make contact with Indigenous people, they might not be welcomed. There is a history of colonisation. There is a history of neglect. There are strong feelings. However, this is an opportunity, we believe, to build some bridges.
So just finishing and returning to the framework there, so hopefully that people have had a little bit of time to reflect on tapu and utu in regards to that sacredness, that to be set apart and to be protected, and utu in regards to actions requiring a response to return to balance and harmony.
So this is part of an ongoing project, and we've got some industrial product design folk who are trying to design a system for carrying poo out that's better. We're giving mountaineers free products, yay, to help them lightweight little bags to carry their poo out with. We're interviewing them about their behaviours, their attitudes, what influences them, and we're about to release a short video with a trailer to really try and motivate that behaviour change. Kia ora.